Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk has confirmed that Russian drones were shot down in Polish airspace overnight.
Airspace in an unprecedented drone strike, pushing NATO and Polish armed forces to scramble their jets.
Late last week, multiple drones crossed into Poland during a large Russian strike on Ukraine. Poland scrambled jets, closed parts of its airspace, and with NATO support shot some of them down. Warsaw says this was a deliberate breach. Moscow denies targeting NATO territory. Of course it does. I'm Phil Campion, former UKSF, and this is the Tactical Truth. Over the next few minutes, we'll show you the timeline breakdown, what the drone incursions reveal about Russian tactics and NATO response, and ask whether these are probing attacks to map out defences and political will before something worse is tried. Now let's take a look at what the media are saying, shall we?
Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk has confirmed that Russian drones were shot down in Polish airspace overnight. He said it was the first time this had happened in NATO territory. Mr. Tusk called it a large-scale provocation and said he was ready to repel such provocations.
I mean, in the scheme of things, proper serious stuff this, you know what I mean? Crossed another line, gone over another frontier, whatever you want to call it. It's different stuff now, isn't it? We were sort of like, yeah.
Well, Mr. Tusk has been meeting with defence and security officials to discuss the violations. He said that although the search for drones is ongoing, there was no reason to panic and the situation is now under control. Well,
this is proper sabre-rattling stuff, innit? Do you know what I mean? Where everything is going to be scrutinised down to the last sentence said in these things like...
Incursions happened during Russian attacks on targets in Ukraine, and Ukraine's President Zelensky said it set an extremely dangerous precedent for Europe. Russia is yet to comment. So let's cross over live to Warsaw, to the Polish capital, to speak to my colleague Adam Easton. And although the ongoing situation is now descaled, Adam, obviously this is a huge concern.
And don't forget here, right, the mainstream media will want to sensationalise everything that happens. So you're getting it turbo boosted a little bit, aren't you? Come on in.
Yes, Kasia, this is obviously not the first time that Russian drones have violated Polish airspace, but this is the first time that Polish and NATO allied military aircraft, the Dutch F-35s are currently stationed in Poland, engaged Russian drones and shot them down. This is the first time, as Prime Minister Tusk
shouldered that one straight onto the Dutch, didn't he?
said in his remarks ahead of the government crisis meeting. This he's described as probably a large-scale provocation by Moscow. Now, the authorities in Minsk in Belarus, where we know that two of these drones have been discovered. Polish police have confirmed one, and local authorities have confirmed another, landed without causing any casualties, but damage to one house quite close to the Belarusian border with Poland, in eastern Poland. We know that the authorities in Minsk have said that they alerted the Polish military that drones had gone off course and were heading towards Poland. But
so there's a bit of a sort of like, when Minsk say, oh, our drones have gone rogue, like, do you know what I mean? Can you believe them on that? Would that amount of technology nowadays go rogue, would it? I don't know. You tell me. Comments below.
The significance of this, although no casualties have been reported, Mr. Tusk said, this is the first time that so many drones, we don't know exactly how many, President Zelensky in Ukraine said 8, Donald Tusk said a large number, had entered Polish airspace, violating Polish airspace, and had actually been shot down. So that's the first time that this has happened, and the Polish military called it an unprecedented act of aggression.
It's been quite an unsettling week in Poland. Now, air raid sirens shook eastern Poland on Saturday due to Russian attacks in Ukraine, triggering unease across cities from Lublin to Chełm. Now, this comes just days after Russian drones breached Polish airspace in an unprecedented drone strike, pushing NATO and Polish armed forces to scramble their jets.
Well, there's no denying that, is there? There's no denying. There's no denying it from Minsk either, to be honest.
Authorities are urging calm, but our defense correspondent Zuzana Jurek explores how the warnings serve as a harsh reminder of rising tensions on Poland's eastern flank.
Although I don't believe anything is done without reason in these situations, I think they played this one fairly decently, do you know what I mean? Don't get too excited, do you know what I mean? We've all seen the sabre rattling, we've all seen the rhetoric, we've all seen the claims before, haven't we? Do you know what I mean? So it looks a bit like that to me.
An unprecedented event shook the residents of eastern Poland on Saturday as air raid sirens sounded over residential areas.
First reaction, anxiousness. I thought there was
the effect that's going to have on the local public isn't good, is it? Do you know what I mean? So no matter what is going on there, when you start hearing air raid sirens going off in your own backyard, it's different gravy, isn't it? It's sort of like, right, what's happening? Do you know what I mean? So the unsettlement for normal people again, the disruption to their lifestyle, is right up there, isn't it?
probably another violation of our airspace, but generally we could only observe what was happening. I was
only observe what was happening. I'd have dug in under me house. I'd have had my head so far I could do it under a snake's belly with a top hat on.
a little scared because I'm from Ukraine. I came to Poland thinking things would be better, but with these sirens it feels a bit strange and I feel uneasy.
Is it just me, or does he look like he finds it quite funny? I think he does, doesn't he? He said, I'm on telly. Mum, I'm on telly.
Let me put it this way. I'm afraid because I know what it's like, because my wife's parents live in Ukraine, so I have an idea of what it's like.
But while a sense of unease and anxiety prevails for some, others encourage composure.
It's dangerous for sure, but we must remain calm and trust those in power. There are sirens, yes, but we should also follow the announcements and not panic unnecessarily.
A very balanced view from this young lady here. Very balanced indeed.
Because unfortunately, panic is a bad advisor here.
This comes just days after Poland experienced the biggest yet incursion into its airspace, when 19 Russian drones flew over Polish territory early on Wednesday. And in response, Poland is preparing to counter Russian drones, and fast. Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski has visited Kiev to discuss joint Ukrainian-Polish drone-related training. Polish armed forces are all
Drones, by the way, featured massively at DSEI this year. Massively. Everything was just drone. That was it. Drone.
also conducting training to boost their defensive readiness with the Iron Defender exercises. And it's not just the Polish.
Not quite sure what he's going to do with a shotgun, like, do you know what I mean? That's like thingy and Goliath, isn't it? Samson and Goliath, isn't it? That is.
Army that's working on its readiness as bottom-up initiatives spring up across the country. This include hunters who see drones as their new prey.
If such a Russian drone crosses the border and flies within the range of a hunting weapon, it could be shot down.
I'd suggest you be in your scratcher, do you know what I mean? Because if that thing hits you at 200 miles an hour, you're not shooting it down with a shotgun, I'm going to tell you, do you know what I mean? You are going to be toast very quickly. Get away from it, get out of the way. Civvies, back off, do you know what I mean? That would be my advice to you. Shut up, stay indoors, and wait for the summer to come so you can get your clays out again, all right? Don't get involved.
The cost of about €1. A hunting rifle can easily be used to shoot down drones.
Polish armed
No, not the sensiblest idea I've come across. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you, all right?
forces welcome the move, though they emphasize it's something that should rather be exercised within official units.
The military needs instructors from its own society. If hunters want to get involved, they should join territorial defense forces.
As the country's
Absolutely spot on. Join up or shut up is my bottom line on this, and I'm sorry. And you can knock me in the comments below, but it's not a matter for local hunters to get involved in, is it? Do you know what I mean? All right, if they're actually on the border coming over and you've got no choice and you have got a shotgun, you're going to defend yourself, aren't you? But this has gone a little bit sort of like no. This is not the famous five. This is serious stuff. Do you know what I mean?
public opinion appears divided on whether Poland might be facing the threat of war with the Kremlin. The Polish government insists exercise caution, follow instructions, but be wary of panic-sowing disinformation.
Right, we've just seen the coverage. Some headlines scream provocation, others say accident. Here's our summary of what it means in practical terms. Quick facts. Multiple small unmanned systems crossed into Polish airspace during a wave of Russian strikes on Ukraine. Poland and NATO, scrambled fighters, used ground-based air defences and confirmed several drones were shot down. Poland temporarily closed Lubin's controlled airspace and moved to contain the incident. So is this a test? Yes, tactically it looks like a probe. Sending large numbers of low-cost drones across an ally's border does several things at once. It forces immediate responses, reveals reaction times and radar gaps, and imposes political pressure by creating a crisis that demands headlines and statements. Warsaw itself has framed the incursion as an attempt to test Poland and NATO's ability to respond. What NATO did and what that shows: NATO scrambled quick reaction jets and deployed integrated asset fighters from member states, Patriot systems and surveillance aircraft, and successfully intercepted some drones. NATO scrambled quick reaction jets and deployed integrated assets, fighters from member states, Patriot systems and surveillance aircraft, and successfully intercepted some drones. Politically, Washington publicly vowed to defend NATO territory, signalling unity. But the episode also exposes a problem. Low-cost drone swarms are cheap to launch and expensive to stop, and they stress alliance logistics and decision-making. The tactical takeaway: if you're Russia, you gain valuable intelligence. Which sensors woke up? Which systems engaged? How fast did the political leadership respond? And whether allied governments talk tough or tangle themselves in a restraint. If you're NATO, you learn where gaps exist, and that investments in layered, affordable counter-drone systems and allied integration are now critical. Hence the EU-UK interest in battlefield-tested Ukrainian tech and proposals for a coordinated drone war. Here's the political takeaway: this is as much about testing will as testing kit. If Moscow judges that NATO will avoid escalation, that responses will be limited to shoot-downs over Allied soils and statements at the UN, it can continue pushing at the margins. If, however, NATO were to start preemptive strikes inside Russian-held territory, that would be a major escalation with huge risks. The current pattern suggests Russia is measuring how far it can push without triggering a full collective defence response. Saber-rattling. What are the risks and consequences? The danger is simple. Probes become normalised, and normalised probes can become accidental or deliberate triggers that produce miscalculation. The cheap nature of drone attacks means deniability, plausible accident claims, and sustained pressure without obvious attribution. All useful to a strategist testing an opponent. So what needs to be changed? Short term, better detection, faster allied air policing, and clear political red lines about what constitutes an attack on NATO. Medium term, more resilient, cost-effective counter-drone layers and shared EU-NATO procurement. Long term, better crisis communications, choreography, and political leaders don't talk past each other in the first chaotic hours. Here's my final thoughts. If Russia is testing NATO, the test just became public. The real question for capitals in Europe and Washington is whether they'll use the lesson to harden their defences and whether they have the appetite to respond if the next probe crosses the line into sustained attack. That decision, not a single radar blip, will determine whether deterrence still holds. Drop your thoughts below, keep it civil, and we'll pin the best comments for the follow-up. Subscribe for the full debrief and membership. If you want to hear the conversations that we don't have in public, you can also subscribe for 16 pence a day to Force TV Plus. Until next time, I'll see you later on.